So today's tech topic is part of my customized series. We're going to look at customizing Mac OS, and customizing it makes it a little more useful for you. We'll talk about what you can customize, which is very extensive. We won't have time to go into every possible customization because there are just so many. But we're going to take a look at the system settings that make it possible to customize and some things you can do on your desktop that you may or may not have thought about doing as well. And then I'll mostly be demonstrating on my desktop. I've changed a few things on my desktop and tried a few things out to get ready for this. And so we're going to take a look at that. But you can change things like your menu bar, your dock, your wallpaper, the size of your display, your mouse pointer. I use a little orange mouse pointer with an outline here. Your power and battery settings, some things in Finder that makes it easier for you to navigate around Finder. And all of these are done in system settings typically. So now you should be looking at my desktop. It's got some green grass leaves on it, and it's got some icons and folders here on the right. It's got some things on the left. It's got a menu bar up in the top. It's a typical desktop that people would look at. Now, one of the things that gives you the ability to do some things right away is you can change your wallpaper. This graphic image that's in the background is my wallpaper. So if I go to my system settings here and I go to bring up the system settings option, you'll see a lot of menu items here. One of the things I want to change is wallpaper. So it shows me the current wallpaper that I'm using. I can look at my own photos that I've added, but there is a whole list of wallpapers that you can choose to look at. And when you see this little rotating wheel, that means the wallpapers will shuffle. Okay, so you can, these are all free. They're all available from Apple. You can just change it to a plain color. You can go to your photos album. You can rotate photos. You can go patterns. But if I wanted to change this wallpaper, say to this one I took in Oregon, I can just change it. And you can see the wallpaper behind all of my icons just changes it really, really quickly. This is one called Sonoma Sunrise. It's a landscape. You can change it to underwater ones like a California dolphin pod. And if you don't see a change right away, that means it's downloading. You can see this little icon up here at the top. It's starting to download. So it's going to get it from Apple's cloud and downloading it for you to be able to use it. You can always switch back to whatever you were using. I like to use something green. It's kind of relaxing for me and it gives good contrast behind everything that I like to see. And there are some things called dynamic wallpapers. Dynamic wallpapers are wallpapers that will change their hue and intensity based on the time of day. So in the morning, it'll be a little bit dim. It'll get brighter later in the morning. It'll get really, really bright at the middle of the day. And then as it goes into the later afternoon, it'll start to dim. And then the evening, it'll turn a darker color. So you can try any of these out that you might want to. And it's not going to do much while you're actually looking at it. But during the day, you'll actually notice that it will change on you as you take a look at it. I like using this one. It's just my preference, but wallpapers give you the ability to customize and modify a lot of different things that you might not have thought about doing before. Okay, so you have those are different things you can do. You can also change in something called appearance. Appearance up here is another setting in system settings, and it gives you the ability to change it from light to dark to auto and change accent colors. Accent colors are colors that are used at the top or bottom of windows. If I go to dark, you can see how it changed everything to a dark contrast where it's light on a black background. Auto will change it based on the time of day. So throughout the day, it's going to adjust it. And you can change your window icons and other things here by your color scheme if you want to and modify that. And you can change the highlight color. You can also change the sidebar icon size. These are icons here. If I change them to large, you see how they became large. If I change them to small, you can see how I can see more on sidebar icons here. Whenever you have a menu with a sidebar, it'll automatically change it to the size you choose. So if you have trouble seeing these icons on the sidebar, just go to this medium setting here or whatever it's set at and choose whatever it allows you to do. You also can change how your scroll bars. You know, when you open up Safari and you see a window that's open up in a scroll bar here. This scroll bar is this little bar right here on the right-hand side that gives you the ability. You can scroll through it on a trackpad or as well, but if you want to, you can adjust that setting so that you can hide or automatically show the scroll bars when you're using a mouse or a trackpad. And you can change whether you want it to jump to the next page or click in the scroll bar to jump. So you have options for changing that in appearance. So those are some quick tools that are available for you. Now, so a lot of people want to know, how do I change the size of the text? Well, there's a couple of ways to do it. You can go to accessibility and change the text size, but you may want everything on your display a little bit bigger. You can see that I've got this display as my Dell that's attached, and I've got a built-in display. My Dell display has a couple of resolutions. I'm currently on 1920 by 1080. The default is smaller. It's a 4K resolution screen, and you can see how everything just got really, really small on my screen all of a sudden by changing the resolution. So you may have a built-in display which gives you the ability to go to default, and that would change it on my Mac laptop display. You can adjust the brightness, leave it automatically, and you usually don't have to change those settings, but you can adjust these. Now, the other setting you can do is you can use your display as a mirror or extended. Mirroring mirrors, they're identical, so that both displays would be exactly the same. And when I often do a presentation in a conference room for a class, I'll use a mirroring display. Extended display gives you the ability to move your mouse and windows across from one to another. So when I had the Zoom window here, for example, and I wanted to move it to my other display, I just click and I can drag it and I can move it to my other display. That's what extended display means for you in that case. Okay, so that's a little bit about scaling. Now, another setting, you can customize settings in the desktop and dock. The desktop and dock, they have a lot of settings. So some people like a really large dock. Here's the dock up here. So you can adjust and scale the size. You'll see how it gets bigger or smaller. I kind of like just like medium, and you can change how the magnification works on it. If you want it to magnify when you scroll over or hover over something, you can change that. You can change it to where it appears on the screen. Unlike the taskbar on Windows, which is kind of annoying now because they used to have a setting, I can make the dock appear on the left or the right or the bottom. You can't use the top because that's where the menu is, okay? So you can do that. So when you minimize windows, you've got a scale effect, the animations. You could automatically hide and show the dock, but if you like to have it there all the time, you can turn it off and your dock is visible on your Mac screen all the time. I like to automatically hide and show it. It gives you a little more room for you to manage. We're going to take this change how you behaved Windows and other things, and Mission Control is a tool that gives you the ability to see all of your windows at the same time. So you have the ability. I'm going to take a look at widgets in a minute when I right click on my screen and show you how a few things are available there. So those are just a few things on the desktop and dock that I want to show you. Now let's look at Finder and preferences, because Finder can be useful. So on Finder, You want to change settings in Finder when you have Finder open. So you can see I've got a menu on the left here. I've got some information here. And if I go to Finder and I go to the settings for Finder, I can use Finder to show things if I want to. So if I open up Finder for the first time, it's set to open up my recents folder. Okay, so if I look at this, here's recents. It's going to show things that I've worked with recently in the order that I've worked with them. And that's what the Finder setting for recents does. And that's really convenient. But I could change it to open up a different folder all the time if I wanted to do it. Like if I'm always going to my documents, if I just wanted to open my iCloud drive, if I wanted to open something else, it'll do that for me. And so that gives me the ability to customize. And I can choose whether I want to show external disks. Here's my passport backup and my Elements back drive. And I can choose whether I want them there or whether I want them hidden. I can choose to hide them or delete them. And I can choose anything else. If I want to show my Mac hard drive, it shows my Mac hard drive down here. Really not useful for me, but I always like to make sure my external disks are recognized and connected. The sidebar here gives you the ability to show what you want to show in your sidebar. So if I don't care about AirDrop or applications or desktop or documents or movies or music or pictures or my own Bob account, which is where your own stuff is stored, you can choose what shows up in your sidebar. And then there's even advanced tools. I like to show all file name extensions. Some people don't. When you look at these files here on my Finder, you'll see it says PPTX, JPEG. If I turn that off, it may not show all of them all the time. Okay, so it's going to give you a different view if you choose to save that or not. So those are a few things that you can do. And then Finder, when you look at settings again and you go to things, you can say when performing a search, it says search this Mac, or I can just search the current folder. There is a tool on a Mac where you do what's called spotlight search. Sometimes it's a menu on the top with a little spotlight. Sometimes it's just hitting the command and the space key opens up spotlight search. So spotlight search is set up to search everything on my Mac, but I can also choose the option to just search the current folder if I prefer that. So just a few things you can customize with Finder depending on how you want to use it and where you might want to use it. Now, one of the things I started doing is you notice there's these little things here on the left part of my screen. It says recent and it has Microsoft Word and it says recent and it has PowerPoint and I've got a clock. These are widgets. You see where my mouse is located? If I right click on that mouse, I will go to the menu item that says Edit Widgets. When I click on Edit Widgets, you'll see a pop-up menu and you'll see these two widgets that I already have added a minus button here so I can remove them if I want to. That's how you remove a widget from your screen. So again, if I right click, go to Edit Widgets, I can remove it widget. All of these widgets are part of applications that have widgets that can be added. A lot of tools on your Mac give you the ability to add something like a clock as a widget. You can see how it positions it up there. You can add weather if you want to, and you can see where it positions it there. You can add tools from different options and Mac and applications. So one of the things you may want to add is on the clock, you have a variety of options here on the clock. So it's not just one clock you can add. You can add a clock that displays the current time, or you can add a second clock as well. But they also have a clock that gives you the ability to add a clock to check the time at a location. So if you have work across time zones or other things like that, and when you right click on this clock, you have the ability to edit what city it is and change the city. So if you were looking for something, say in Berlin, and you wanted to have the time for Berlin displayed on your desktop all the time because you work with people there, you have the ability to do that and set it up so that it's displayed for you as well. When you click on Done here down at the bottom, that'll add all your widgets and make them visible. And so when you click on your desktop, that'll refresh the widgets and show you everything. When you open up an application to do something and work in it, like Safari, the widgets usually turn black to kind of minimize their impact on you when you're working on a desktop, so that you have the ability when you close an application and you click back on your desktop, the widgets will show up in their color view. One of the advantages I like is that you have the ability to use widgets from almost any application that makes them available. Some make them available, some don't. So widgets are application and tool specific, but most of your Mac settings and options will have them in them. Some other tools will give you the ability to work with them in different applications, but you have just a lot of variety, and you can click on any type of widget you might see on the left and see what options there are available. The company that makes the application provides the widget and makes it available for Apple to integrate it. So you can see here where's Microsoft Outlook, PowerPoint, Excel. If I work a lot with Word, and so you have the ability to really see a lot of different views of it, just the latest one or two or a list of four or a list of six with a little bit of a preview. And if I add this widget to my desktop, it doesn't remove the old widget, but you can see it. I can click on it and I can drag it, move it around. You'll see these little border areas showing up that give you the ability to change where it shows up. And if I don't like it there, I can click and remove it. I can click and remove it if I want to, and I can clean up my desktop a little bit. And when you're done, just click Done. So that's a little tip on how to add and edit widgets and modify the widgets that might be useful. Just remember, right click on your desktop, go to Edit Widgets, and you'll see a whole view of everything that you might be interested in adding to your desktop. System setting, and yes, we can go to widget settings here. Not too many, so I can choose my widgets by right clicking. And what I've done here is I've set up some widgets here for Word and PowerPoint and a clock. And these are widgets that I can show on my desktop. Let's talk about another setting, okay? Settings gives you the ability to just search for a setting if you want to. So we're going to go back to system settings here, and I'm going to go to something called that gives me the ability to use settings, desktop, and dock. And desktop and dock gives you not only these widgets, it also gives you the ability to change how windows appear, but it also gives you the ability to do something called hot corners. You might miss this. It's way at the bottom here. Hot corners are functions that happen when you move your mouse to that particular corner on your screen. And these are customizable by you. So if I move my mouse to the upper left-hand corner, it'll bring up my desktop, but I can change it to do something different. If I move my mouse to my lower left-hand corner, it'll bring up the launch pad. If I move my mouse to the upper right-hand corner, it'll bring up mission control. If I move it to the lower right-hand corner, it'll bring up quick note. Let's see if I can get it to do it. So if I move my mouse to the left, you should see mission control. If I move it in the upper left, I'm not sure if it's doing anything there or not. Maybe because I have screen share. If I move it to the right, it brings up my desktops here. If I move it to the right, it brings up the dock. So you have options to change how it functions and how it works with different tools. This is a little icon, tiny little icon in the corner here, gives me the ability to create a quick note very quickly. So by moving my mouse down here, the dock pops up because it's at the bottom, but I also have this little tab that pops up that gives me ability to open up and start a new note really quickly. So those are hot corners. And also you've got access to shortcuts to do some things if you want to as well. That gives you some ability. Now, I'm also going to show you some things on battery settings. So we want to go to system settings, and we'll go to battery. Let's see if I can find battery. If you can't find it, I always like just typing in a search tool. So, but look at battery. Battery will give you a lot of information about how your battery is functioning and what you're doing with it. So, low power mode will reduce the amount of power you use only on battery or always or only when you're on power adapter, which means you're plugged in. Shows your battery health over time so you can see how it works. You can choose whether you want to slightly dim the display when you're on battery so it uses a little less power, or you can prevent automatic sleeping when you're plugged in if you want to put hard disks to sleep when possible, or what you call wake for network access only on power adapter. These are tools that you can use so that you can adjust whether your item is desktop is working or your battery is being used when your battery on battery only to kind of preserve your battery life. The standard settings work really, really well to be able to give you the tools for that. And those are sometimes managed in Power. And so if we look at Power Nap here, it gives you the ability to look at it as well. And you can look to determine how long you want to turn off the display. That's on lock screen. So you can change when the screensaver starts, whether it's inactive, or turn it off when you're on power adapter and change these tools and require a password if you want to or not require a password, and whether you want to show sleep, restart, and shutdown buttons when you use the Apple menu here, where you've got sleep, restart, and shutdown, or if you don't want to show them. You have just a tremendous ability to do so many customization. I've got a lot of icons here. These are icons for graphics, for folders, there are other things like that. I can choose how these are sorted, whether I don't want any sorting. So if I move one around here, for example, it stays there. Okay, so I don't have any sorting. But if I want to, I can snap them to a grid. If I want to, I can sort by name and it'll organize them by name. If I want to, I can sort by kind it is, and it'll put graphics and other disks and folders in different order here. And so I have the ability to do other way. I can do it by date last opened or date added or size or even tags if I want to apply a tag to something. I have the ability to adjust my view options here to make these things a little bit bigger. So if I want the icons a little bit bigger, you can see I'm sliding to the right here. If you want things on your desktop to be a little bigger, if you want them spaced a little farther apart, you can adjust the space. And if you want the text that's at the bottom to be bigger, you can adjust that to a little bit too and make them a little bit bigger. You can do this whether or not you are using the display options to show things, or whether you're just using the standard settings for your display. So you have a lot of these tools that you can use to fit more things on your desktop or fewer things on your desktop and how you want to sort them and how you want to manipulate them. So you have all these tools. You can obviously right click and create a new folder anytime, and you can do something called import from iPhone or iPad right from your desktop, which is not really a customization, but it's the ability to do it. That's just by clicking on right click. So all of your system settings are going to give you the ability to customize things like your screensaver, your displays, your desktop and dock. You'll be able to customize the appearance. If you want to go into accessibility, it gives you the ability to customize tools that you might want to use in other ways and choose things for your display if you're interested in inverting colors, changing the contrast, reducing transparency, adjusting the text size so you can adjust text size by doing it here. That's an accessibility. Let me move my note over here so you can see as I adjust the text size, you can see how the text is getting bigger and smaller, and they have it what's called default, which will be there if you want to. And you can adjust the text size in even individual apps. I have the menu bar set to the large setting, which is the largest it is. Normally, the default might be a little bit smaller for you, but you have the ability to change it. The pointer is where a lot of people want to make changes. I have a tool that has shake pointer to locate. That means when I shake it, it gets bigger. I can change the pointer size to make it bigger right now, or I can make it smaller depending on what I want. And I can change the pointer outline or the pointer fill color. I mean, I find that the black outline with an orange fill makes it really easy to see, but if I wanted a different fill, like a bright green one, I could choose a color here and change it if I wanted to by clicking on this. And I can choose a green color, a bright green, or I can choose a dark purple depending on what works best. I find the orange tends to work best for most types of screens, but you have the ability to just reset it any type you want to. So you have the ability to adjust color filters if you want to change those things. So tremendous number of tools that you can modify and adjust how things work and how they work with you. Language and region, date and time. You can set up all types of tools if you want to and customize all the different types of things you can. All right. Well, thank you, everybody.